Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into something a little bit different. We've done a few on this channel, but not many. Today we're jumping into a cider. This cider comes from Blueberry Spaceship Box Cider Company. Kind of an interesting name. They're based in Prescott, Arizona. This specific cider is called Blueberry Cider. Clocks in at 5% ABV, and it is a cider with added blueberry juice. So a very interesting name for this cider brewer. Label art looks quite cool. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It's got a man out in space with blueberries and they're smashing a spaceship into an apple. I don't know. It's a little hard to describe. But a very large bottle here. If I recall correctly, I believe that this specific cider is one of the highest, if not possibly the highest rated cider on Untapped currently. So that got me intrigued, and when I saw this pop in Tavour, I said I gotta have it. You also notice it has one of these nice little stoppers, a nice little porcelain stopper, all kind of Dutch or German big beer style. So I don't have to drink this entire bottle in one sitting. I can simply seal it and then enjoy it again tomorrow. So without further ado though, we're gonna go ahead and get this cracked gently. And I decided for this, we're going to use our nice all-purpose Sam Adams glass. It has a beautiful tulip shape, which ought to do wonderfully for this nice cider. So let's get this poured. Oh yeah, that is absolutely lovely. Absolutely lovely. It's a cider. It might form a little bit of a head, but it's going to be very active in terms of carbonation. It's going to break down, much like a sour beer would do. It is absolutely stunningly beautiful to look at in the glass. I can tell you as I'm pouring it, it really does. The blueberries, it makes it look the color of grape juice. Just big, deep blues and purples and reds popping out of this visually. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I'm sure the camera's not picking this up, but I'm holding this right in front of my super bright LEDs on my set, and I can see through this glass, and it is very, very active in terms of carbonation, as you would expect from a cider. So yeah, we got a little bit of cling. Most of this effervescence that's rushing up is actually adding just really small little tiny bubbles that just keep pushing out to the side and making residual cling on the edge of the glass. So it's quite nice. Let's get right up over this for a sniff. It smells like a cider. It smells like a very nice cider. It is apple dominant, but you can definitely pick up the blueberry on the aroma as well. I mean, ciders, obviously apple, that is the main. Of course, there are other fruit ciders, pears, whatever, take your pick. That's another common one. But this is apple-based with blueberry juice added. So it is very dominant with the apple aroma, and the blueberry does come through. Obviously, they put plenty of it in there. Visually, we can tell. But on the aroma, it is a little more subtle. The apple is still more pressing than the blueberry. But without further ado, we're just going to jump right in, see what this is about. Oh man. Oh, that's really, really nice. That's really, really nice. Okay, so the flavor profile is a bit like the aroma profile. In fact, they pretty much are in alignment. So the apple is still the dominant fruit, even on the flavor profile. But the blueberry does come through. Again, it's got a little more subtlety to it compared to the apple, but it is apple dominant. So this is a true cider. This is not like an English style dry cider. Indeed, I am sure that this was either pulled before fermentation was completed, or more likely does have added lactose, which makes the cider come off tasting sweet. It does have a nice sweetness to it, so it's much more akin to kind of alcoholic fruit juice, if you will, but it's very, very nice. The apples, very bright, very fresh, taste very clean, reminiscent of biting into a fresh apple, or if you took a fresh apple and ran it through a fruit juicer to make fresh apple juice. It's very fresh. It's like that sense. And then the blueberry is just this nice subtle undercurrent. And it pops in underneath the apple. I would say the apple is about 3/4 of the intensity. The blueberry is 1/4. And that mirrors what I got in the aroma. So the balance of what they built with this It's absolutely spot on. It is still apple dominant. It's a apple-based cider with added blueberry juice. And I gotta say that combination of flavors, absolutely delicious. Now personally, I probably would have, if I had made something like this, gone a little more on the blueberry than the apple, even though I love cider and I love apples, but blueberry is just one of those special fruit. I mean, I love them. I think most people do. I'm sure there are some that don't, but blueberry, it's hard to beat. Heck, a good apple is, but this is really, really well done, guys. Very, very good. So this is a cider. We're going to use our same categories that we would for beer, obviously, but it's got a lot of noticeable difference. So it's not exactly an equal equation in terms of what we're looking at here. I am always rating based on what it is that I'm rating and stylistically. So we're looking at this as a cider, not as a beer. So what I can tell you, 5%, 5.5% ABV on this one. It's not super heavy. It doesn't feel it. It shouldn't be. It's a cider. It's light. It's very effervescent. I would say medium light. So it feels more or less exactly where you would expect a cider in this ABV range, which is pretty much average for a cider. The aroma, very, very nice. The taste, very, very nice. Mouthfeel, not super thick, not a ton of resistance, just enough you can feel. It feels appropriate and it matches that body. So the body and the mouthfeel are pretty much exactly where you would expect. The finish, this is not hoppy. It's sweetened. It's a cider. It's not going to have a ridiculously long finish. I wouldn't expect it to. What I can say is, though, because this is not a dry cider, it does stay wet and round all the way to the end. And even though, obviously, there's no driving bitters, you do still have a nice little lingering bit of apple, very distinct apple that finishes. And it doesn't finish on the back of the palate on this one, at least for me personally. It finishes on the tip of the tongue, and it's very, very nice. But overall, just a really, really great cider. I'm glad I picked this up. I don't drink a lot of ciders. I think this one is absolutely delicious. I'm going to take my time, sip on this one, come up with my scores. When we come back, we'll get this cider ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this cider, we're going to get it ranked. So I need to make an amendment here. I said that the name of the brewer was Blueberry Spaceship Box Cider Company. That's actually the name of the cider, and it looks like they have an error on their label. Prescott, Arizona, it should have immediately triggered. Are you sure about that? Because I know that Superstition Meadery is based in Prescott, and indeed, after looking this up, it is produced by Superstition. I kind of sort of remember that that is kind of their logo, but I forgot what it looked like because I've only had 1 or 2 ciders from them. But yeah, it does say clearly on the label, produced and bottled by Blueberry Spaceship Box Cider Company in Prescott. So I don't know if they decided to change their name after the fact, but nonetheless, I'm sticking with it's Superstition Meadery's Blueberry Spaceship Box Cider. So this was, as exactly what it sounds, a blueberry cider, 5.5% ABV cider plus blueberry juice. Prescott, Arizona, of course. This was a really nice cider, and I could see why this is one of the highest rated on Untapped for sure. In terms of the aroma, it was very nice. It was quite pronounced. I would say overall, while I enjoyed it and it smelled fantastic, the balance was a little skewed on the apple side and not as heavily on the blueberry side. A minor little nitpick, but that's what I experienced. But overall, really, really great. The aroma gets a 9 out of 10. The taste rather mirrored what I got out of the aroma as well. It was nice. This was not a dry cider. It was not one of those ciders that has most of the yeast eating the sugars. It clearly had some lactose addition, or they just pulled it before it was completely fermented out. But it was a nice sweet cider. It was very wet, but it again was really about 3/4 apple to 1/4 blueberry. For something like this, I really would have liked there to be an even balance, perhaps even skewed a little more in the blueberry direction, because you can get an apple cider anywhere, but blueberry, it's just awesome. Again, it was delicious, so I didn't want to dock too many points, but I did take one here. Taste gets a 9 out of 10. For the body, this is not heavy. It's a cider. It's not supposed to be. The body did get a 10 out of 10. The mouthfeel, Same story with the mouthfeel. It's not ridiculously viscous. It's not supposed to be, just 5.5% on a cider. The mouthfeel also gets a perfect 10 out of 10. For the finish, ciders aren't really known for their very long finishes. This was actually quite a bit longer than your average cider. Indeed, it had quite a very flavor-forward presence to it. And it was very strong, lingering apple and still a little bit of that blueberry. Like, it was present, it just wasn't balanced exactly evenly. That's probably by design, but kind of what I'm getting out of it, if you're going to take something like this and take the time to do the blueberry, just let the blueberry have a little bit bigger of a voice. We can get an apple cider anywhere. But that being said, it was quite nice, and yes, the blueberry was still present along with the apple on the end of the finish. It was not dry, it was nice and wet all the way to the end. Finish gets a 9 out of 10. For the head and retention, you know, this one formed a little bit of one. Very active in terms of carbonation. It kept popping up, but ciders, they're never going to form a head like, say, a stout pulled from a tap. I didn't expect that. So head and retention, I did give a perfect 10 out of 10. For the appearance, this is absolutely stunning. That blueberry really added a beautiful hue to it. It looked fantastic. The appearance gets a 10 out of 10. For the balance, you might suspect as much, and I talked about this both on aroma and the taste. I really enjoyed in general what I got out of this cider. It was absolutely delicious, but again, I would have balanced it closer to even. Apple 3/4 to blueberry 1/4. I don't want to say it was disappointing because I enjoyed it. I was just hoping for a bigger push from the blueberry juice that they added into this one to be a bigger, more kind of set it apart from other ciders kind of factor. And what I got was very nice. I just personally would have balanced a little more blueberry in with that apple, but still above average. Balance gets a 7 out of 10. Feeling in the intangible, subjectively, I really enjoyed it. Would I personally say this is one of the best ciders I've ever had? Yes. Do I think it probably qualifies as one of the best in the world? Yes. But subjectively, I kept coming back to the blueberry aspect of it. And for me, it doesn't matter what I'm drinking, if it's beer, if it's mead, if it's cider. Balance is really the key to what makes a truly great beverage great versus just good. And for me, it really begged for more blueberry to speak, both in the aroma and in the flavor profile. This is my subjective thoughts. It is what it is, but I still really enjoyed it, and I did give it above average an 8 out of 10. Finally, as an example of the style, this is a very, very well-crafted cider. Adding in the blueberry with the apple was a really cool move. I just, as much as I like this, it felt to me like it needed more blueberry in it. And it did lose a few points in a few categories. Not super heavy, but it was enough that in the grand scheme, I think that this could have been executed maybe slightly differently to make it really stand out amongst the crowd. That said, I still think this is a top tier cider. I only docked 1 point here. I give it a 9 out of 10, which does bring the total score on Superstition Meadery's Blueberry Spaceship Box to a 91 out of 100. So make no mistake about it. I know it may sound like I'm bashing this or picking on it. I'm really not. I'm explaining what I experienced and my thoughts behind my rationale for where I put everything based on what I experienced. But that is not to diminish this at all. It was absolutely delicious. This is not your run-of-the-mill, pick up a 6-pack of cider from the grocery store to take home because you're in a cider mood. This is proper craft cider. They did a great, great job with this. I absolutely loved it. If you like cider in general, you like the sweeter ones, and or you're a fan of blueberry, this I would absolutely recommend. This is one of those drinks that people don't really drink could easily have some and enjoy and think it's absolutely incredible. Indeed, it was. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on your notifications, hit that bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.